Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Madhava ki Shri Radha Giridhari ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jaja Shudra Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Bhai Charanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jaja Shudra Shri Srimad Bhagavatam Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Samveda Bhakti ki Jai Go Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories assembled devotees, all glories, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Turn in your green beans for deity laundry.
No green bean at the moment.
Okay, there we go. Text 48. So this morning we have from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 2nd chapter, Hṛṣīkeśa, king of the demons. This is text 48. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yataita. Let's do the whole word here. Yataita binivesho. Yam yad guneshu arta drig vachaha yatha manurata swapna sarvam aīndriyakam mrisha yatai binivesho yam yad guneshvarta drig vachaha yatha manorata swapna sarvam aīndriyakam mrisha vitata binivesho yam yad guneshvarta drigbachaha yatha manorata swapna sarvam aīndriyakam mrisha yatata binivesho yam yad guneshvarta drigbachaha yatha manorata swapna sarvam aīndriyakam mrisha. Anyone like to chant? Yatha binivesho yam Anyone else? Anyone online? Okay. Yataita. Fruitless. Abhinivesha. The conception. Ayam. This. Yat. Which. Guneshu. In the modes of material nature. Arta. As a fact. Drikvacha. The seeing and talking of. Yatha. Just as. Manorata. A mental concoction. Daydream. Swapna. A dream. Sarvam. Everything. Aīndriyakam. Produced by the senses. Mrisha. False. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. It is fruitless to see and talk of the material modes of nature and their resultant so-called happiness and distress as if they were factual. When the mind wanders during the day, does anyone have that problem? When the mind wanders during the day and a man begins to think himself extremely important, or when he dreams at night and sees a beautiful woman enjoying with him, these are merely false dreams. Similarly, the happiness and distress caused by the material senses should be understood to be meaningless. Purport. The happiness and distress derived from the activities of the material senses are not actual happiness and distress. Therefore, Bhagavad-gītā speaks of happiness that is transcendental to the material conception of life. Sukham atyatikam yattad buddhingrayam atīndriyam. We'll come to that. That's in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā. When our senses are purified of material contamination, they become atīndriya, transcendental senses. And when the transcendental senses are engaged in the service of the master of the senses, Hṛṣīkeśa, one can derive real transcendental pleasure. Whatever distress or happiness we manufacture by mental concoction through the subtle mind has no reality, but is simply a mental concoction. One should therefore not imagine so-called happiness through mental concoction. Rather, the best course is to engage the mind in the service of the Lord, Hṛṣīkeśa, and thus feel real blissful life. There is a Vedic statement, apama somam amrita abhuma apsarobhir viharama. With reference to such a conception, one wants to go to the heavenly planets to enjoy with the young girls there and drink somarasa. Such imaginary pleasure, however, has no value, as confirmed in Bhagavad-gītā 7.23, Antavatu palam tesham tad bhavati alpametasam. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Even if by fruit of activity or worship of the demigods one is elevated to higher planetary systems for sense enjoyment, his situation is condemned in Bhagavad-gītā as antavat, perishable. The happiness one enjoys in this way is like the pleasure of embracing a young woman in a dream. For some time it may be pleasing, but actually the basic principle is false. The mental concoctions of happiness and distress in this material world are compared to dreams because of their falseness. All thoughts of obtaining happiness by using the material senses have a false background and therefore have no meaning. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Chakshurunminitam Dena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Shvabadadikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Vanchakapatarupascha, Kripashindu Bevacha, Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So by your good wishes and prayers, I'll try to say a few words. I have one question, Dravida Prabhu. Dravida? Yes. This word manorath, a mental concoction, is there any translation of this where it's something more positive?
Chariot of the mind.
Yeah, chariot of the mind. Because I worked with someone, he was a train of thought. He was a disciple of Chinmoy. I worked with him many years ago, and his guru gave him the name Manorath. So back in my head, I was just thinking, that's an interesting name. I didn't want to say, mental concoction. Why'd your guru give you a name like that, or chariot of the mind? It's like, and he was quite mellow. He wasn't like all over the place, or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know, but it was interesting. Like, why would you get a name Manorath? It's interesting. Okay, so it says here it's fruitless. This vitata, fruitless. It's fruitless to see and talk of the material modes of nature and their resultant so-called happiness and distress as if they were factual. When the mind wanders during the day and a man begins to think himself extremely important, or when he dreams at night and sees a beautiful woman enjoying with him, these are merely false dreams. Similarly, the happiness and distress caused by the material senses should be understood to be meaningless. So, where else do you hear information like this? This is called... Yeah, no, he hasn't. He's not going to. Like that. It says that an intelligent person learns by hearing, and a fool learns by bitter experience, right? That's part of the bitter experience, getting beaten, like that, Shastra and Shastra. So now one thing is, we'll go through the purport, but one thing, an objection or requests for clarification can come up. What do you mean by meaningless? Do we believe the thoughts that the material world is completely false? There's no meaning whatsoever. It's not really even happening. It's all illusion. No, we don't. It's really here. Like it or not, you're here in Bhagavatam class. It's really happening. We are here, right? The material world is here. But it's temporary. That's the illusion. Like that. Just like the examples given of the snake and the rope, right? Snakes exist, ropes exist, but what's the illusion is when you think you're walking across the patio to collect some flowers in the morning, you step on something, like that. Well, you think it's a snake, but it's actually just a hose that Mani Bandana left before he went to India or something like that. Oh, like that, so you have to be careful. But both exist, but the illusion is you think one thing is the other. So that's what's being referred to here. It's meaningless in the sense, for the soul, these things have no meaning because they're temporary. That's being referred to here also in this antavatupalam tesham tad bhavati alpa medasam. Alpa medasam means just a little bit of brain substance. I'm not going to tell the joke. After class I'll tell the joke. Okay. But anyways, alpa medasam means just a little bit of brain substance. That's all. The person has just a little bit. Somehow or other, all they got was a little bit. What do they think? Antabatu palam tesham. That, they're looking for happiness in a place where there's no happiness. Things that have a beginning and an end ultimately will not make us happy. That's the point. And it's just the very fact that we are looking for something permanent, some people, philosophers say, and we say, is indicative of our spiritual nature. Why would we be looking for something that never ends unless it was our nature? Right? Why would we be looking for that? Some atheists say, well, that's just an imagination. Sour grapes and this and that and so on. So you're looking somewhere else. You've given up the endeavor for looking for happiness in the material world, and you imagine something else beyond this material world. But actually, it's all right here. Okay? And one idea they have, the idea of material life is, it's true. I admit it. Everything is temporary. But if you can string together enough temporary experiences throughout your life of happiness, you'll be happy. Right? That's material life, isn't it? Enough good days. Okay, what's the bumper sticker? No bad days. Right? No bad days. So if you can string together enough good days, what more can you ask for that? And that's the big endeavor. That's the big endeavor, to try to enjoy in this material world. Unfortunately, it's all of those good days, one day, it's all going to be over, right? There's going to be one bad day. It's going to be really bad. So it's just the nature of this world. And for those who don't know that there's something beyond this, you have two choices. One is to become very depressed, That's what and people are depressed. The consumption of antidepressants is unbelievable in this country. It's like candy. It's candy, practically. The number of people who are depressed and have to take some kind of medication is epidemic. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. It's a sign of something seriously wrong with our conception of life. That we have a certain conception of life that we're forced to take antidepressants. So, very good for the pharmaceuticals. But what's going on? Just like if you associate with some people who always make you unhappy, should you stay there? No. You shouldn't, Or if you're in an environment where it just makes you unhappy, no. So it's an unfortunate symptom of this day and age that people are very depressed. And they don't know there's something else. That's the point I'm making. They don't know that if you don't know there's something else, you get very, very depressed like that. Or you just, they put your something to the wheel. What's that? Shoulder to the wheel and just keep going. Just keep nose to the grind. We'll just keep going and just keep trying the best you can because you don't know of anything else. You don't know of anything else. So there is something else, and that's what's being revealed to us, and that's why we can talk about things like this. In the material world, they're always talking about the hopeful talk about happiness here, isn't it? It's just around the corner. They have a saying about clouds also, right? Every cloud has a silver lining. I mean, there's probably a whole book on all these sayings, right? They kind of make us be positive about life. Oh, yeah, tomorrow I'll be better. Here's this one. It could be worse. We get that a lot, right? It could be worse, right? So there's all these sayings who confuse us or try to make us forget the distress and be enthusiastic for tomorrow. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another day, right? Like that. Let's see what the stock market is tomorrow. How is it today? Do you know already? Have you checked? No, you haven't checked. All right. Oh, he's checking. Okay. So it goes up, it goes down, it goes down. So when it goes up, oh, everyone's happy. And then the next day it goes down, oh, everyone's sad, right? Or just like when people have this attachment to their sports teams, right? I don't think anyone is attached. Are you attached to any sports teams? Okay. How about you? Are you attached? Oh, your husband, Roshan, should be here. He's got to hear some more of this philosophy. So, when the team loses, it's like, oh. And the next game they win, it's like, whoa. It's just like it was a roller coaster. It's just a team, right? Seahawks won, they lost, this, that, whatever. They just had didn't they just have the baseball, the World Series? No, baseball. Because I was in a few weeks ago. Because I was it was in Phoenix. Because I was there doing a wedding, and everyone was talking about how, I don't know who won or lost, but people identify so much, and then their hearts are attached to that, and then they lose. In some places they lose, and then they have big fights, right? Soccer, things like that. I know in Europe, I don't know if they still do that, but it breaks out a big fight. Everyone's so distressed about the loss and the win. Riots, break all kinds of stuff, go crazy, burn things, just because a game was lost or won.
When they win, they do it also.
So this is a problem. So the point is being made here is because we identify. It's about the mind. We identify with the mind and the mind's plans. And, during the day, the mind is thinking, the example given here is we walk around thinking we're all very, very important. Like that, we're all very, very important. Like that. That's just, Prabhupada said, in the age of Kali, a pauper is proud of his penny. Like that. Everyone should be offered respect, but we offer respect to everyone as a spirit soul, eternal servant of Krishna. But somehow or other, we think we're very, very important. And then at night, we're dreaming also. In this way, the mind is just going all over the place with all these different plans and thinking they're all very, very, very important. But they're not in relation to the soul, and they'll never bring us real happiness. They'll never bring us real happiness. We'll always come up short. That analysis of happiness, I think there's 4 kinds. There's 4 kinds. There's a kind of happiness where you want to get something and you never get it. So you're distressed. There's something you really want and you never, ever get it. So now there's a kind of happiness where you want it, you get it. And it's just not what you thought it would be. Then there's a kind of happiness where you get it. It's everything you thought it would be. It goes away. It's taken away from you. Is there any other options besides those three in the material world? Is there any other options? Can anyone think of anything else? You want it, you never get it. You want it, you get it, and didn't work out. You want it, you get it. Hey, this is wonderful. And then somehow it just fades away or is taken away from you. Is there any other type of happiness in the material world?
You want it, you don't get it. Somebody you don't like gets it. It's not what you
Okay. Become envious of others because they have it. So, but that's a analysis of happiness in the material world. So. Well, that's the point we're making. The point we're making is that it's not, we are, what's the word? Cheating ourselves. It's called self-deception, right? Self-deception. We're cheating ourselves. There's something much better. So that's the good news. There's something much, much better. And in Bhagavad-gītā, the Prabhupada refers to that in the very beginning of the purport here. And I will open this up and read this. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna is talking about what it is to attain perfection, the perfect yogi. And in this, he's quoting the 2nd verse of this series of 20, 21, 22, and 23. And I'll read the translation, okay? I'll read the translation. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. So it's just the opposite of what the verse was saying. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. This is indeed actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. So it's capital self in there. Yeah, it's super self. So, what Prabhupada says here in the purport, when our senses are purified of material contamination, they become atīndriya, or transcendental senses. And if they're not purified, then what can we enjoy? It's just like if you, it's getting cold, not too cold here in San Diego, but if it gets so cold you have to wear a thick glove. You ever live somewhere where you have to wear thick gloves? I think you have lived someplace where you have to wear pretty thick gloves, right? And then your sense of touch is, what can you know, it's covered with a glove. So our ability to perceive happiness is very much covered by our gross and subtle body, so we can't even perceive what real happiness is. That's important realization to have. We can't even perceive what it is to be happy. That's our condition. That's our condition. And so, as it says here, when the senses become purified by being engaged in the service of Lord Hṛṣīkeśa, the master of the senses, then real happiness starts being experienced. And it's not something new. It's like coming back to good health. You ever been sick for a while, then you all of a sudden you're healthy again. You say, "Wow, this is fantastic! I can breathe. I can taste food. I don't hurt. I don't ache, and no aches and pains." So. Right now we're in that condition, so we need to become free from that condition. And all of these other things, which are a constant promise from the material nature. Maya is constantly promising stuff. If you just listen to me, you'll be so happy. Remember, a fish is just a fish, that play? Remember that? You remember that? Anyone remember that? A fish is just a fish? Kalakanta wrote that play. They used to have a slideshow. We used to show the bhaktas. Because the example about the fish. If you take a fish out of water, they can't be happy no matter what you do to it. So the story is, the play he put together and put into a little slideshow, devotees in LA, was this fish is thinking, I'd really like to be happy on the land. All of a sudden, boom, he turns into a person. So he gets on the land, and all these things start happening to him. Money and this and that and all these, and it all goes bad. It all goes bad until he gets back in the water. So, you know, and the, I forget her name, very, very beautiful Mataji, devotee in LA, played Maya. She had an executive suit on and all that. And she was always saying, hey, you know, I got something for you. Try this, try that. And Maya's always, come on, come on, come on. I got something. Come on. You know, keep going. So Maya's always promising. What are the promises today? To be happy in the material world. What are the promises? The minds are, oh, listen, our minds are conditioned to listen to bad advice. Isn't that horrible? You know? You know, you try to teach your students and children and all that not to listen to bad advice. It's always, you know, it's always there. There's always bad advice, and there's always good advice. To always listen to good advice. So here is some good advice. And the last thing we'll end with is an interesting point. I was listening to Prabhupada recently. He was talking about the Maharaj Rishabdev telling his sons, giving good advice. His 100 sons are there. He's leaving, you know, leaving to the forest, and he's giving all these good instructions. And Sri Raghavacharya, one of the commentators on the Bhagavatam, is making the point that even though all this good instruction is there, unless there's vairagya, you never actually realize it. There has to be austerity. There has to be some vairagya. Austerities, the austerities of the process of yoga, of bhakti yoga, or it all stays theoretical. It just stays theoretical. Where's the bridge, the crossover from theoretical to realized? And that's through the process of devotional service or vairagya. There has to be some pushing back on or in control of the mind and senses, otherwise it never gets realized. You can go on for many, 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 many lifetimes, or as many lifetimes as you like. There's never a transition, you know. So you have to follow the process of. And he quoted the verse by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. What is that? Yes, Vairagya Vijjan Nija Bhakti Yoga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought the process, but it contains a Vairagya. Vairagya is renunciation, Vijja, knowledge, devotion. It's a whole package. So our daily Vairagya in pushing on the Krishna conscious movement is essential. What's that one verse or one saying? An easygoing life and Krishna consciousness don't go well together. Don't go together. They don't go together. So devotees are very happy to perform the different austerities of devotional service because they know that's the key. That is the key. And one feels it. When one goes through, and we don't have to make anything up. What is our austerity? It's pushing on the Krishna conscious movement, and I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of austerity to do that. Right? Ask the temple commander over there. He's about passing out. Right? He's like that. Just trying to keep things together, the kitchen clean, and this and that, and devotees in Sankirtan, and right? There's so much austerity, but that austerity is what is like the bridge from theoretical to practical. That's what it means. So that vairagya has to be there, and we should welcome it. Like that. But it's not the vairagya itself, it's the devotional service. The example is given just like Raghunath Das Goswami. Who is more austere than him? So, but you? Okay. But those austerities in and themselves wasn't the reason. It was his Krishna consciousness. Because of his Krishna consciousness, he was able to perform those. So there's many examples of people who are very, very austere. What time do you get up in the morning? What time do you get up in the morning?
My alarm goes off at 1:55.
Okay, but I didn't ask what time your alarm goes off. I said, what time do you get up in the morning? 2:05. Oh, a little snooze button there. Okay. There are people who get up earlier than you, but it's not for devotional service. You know, so just getting up early. See, the whole point is, it's all of these things in the service of the Lord, that makes the big difference. So that's another thing also. But our austerities of devotional service given to us by our spiritual masters, that will actually carry us and grant us the realization of verses like this. And we'll feel, just like it says here, through transcendental senses, one feels there's no greater gain. And one is experiencing a happiness which is incomparable to anything in this material world. And that's just the nature of the soul. The soul is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Satchit Ananda Vigraha. It's full of bliss. It's an ocean. So, but we cheat ourselves. So, it's 8:25. I'm going to end here and open it up for any questions or comments. Yes, Sheila.
You were mentioning that daily vairagya. Can you explain it a bit more? What is daily?
Yes, chanting your rounds. That's the big one. That's the Mahavairagya. Okay? Some chanting. That's the big vairagya in Kali Yuga. Because we don't want to do it. The mind says, nah. But that chanting, Cetodarpana Marjanam, everything comes from the chanting. So that's number one. Okay? So you put a big sign over your door. Number one vairagya. Chant Hare Krishna every single day, like that. The chanting. That's the big one. Chanting, the four regulative principles, like that. So sitting. Just to do it. But the big thing is just that one thing. Remember, every day chant. That's the big one. Everything will come from the chanting. Is that okay? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thanks, Prabhu. I just wanted to add to that I remember reading in Satchidananda Maharaj's book, I think, Nectarian Ocean of the Holy Name, in the index in the back, he mentions that a verse of the Agni Purana that specifically says that the chanting of the holy name is the highest tapasya. So I appreciaed that reference myself.
Okay. I mean, even Bhagavad-gītā says, I'm the chanting of the holy name, Japosmi. In Bhagavad-gītā, it's Yagyosmi. Of sacrifices, I am Japa. Is that what it? Yeah. So that's the big one. Everything will come from that. Good enough? Yes, Balaram. Govardhan. Govardhan. Balaram. Balaram. Govardhan. Govardhan. Balaram. Balaram. Govardhan. Govardhan. Balaram.
Hare Krishna. So I was on books and someone said something interesting. They said, why do monks and why do you guys focus a lot on death? Why do you guys meditate on death? And basically this person was trying to say, why not enjoy what we have right now? So I wanted to see how you would answer it.
Well, we do. We do enjoy what we have now. The question, we do. We're not like walking around with our head down, death, 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 death. Chanting and dancing and prasadam, and there's a whole life going on. But we're not foolish that death is not going to be there. We know it's going to be there. And our focus is on deathlessness. See the difference? Because you don't accept the soul, all you're left with is death. Our focus is deathlessness. The soul is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. But in order to get that, we have to understand we're not the body. We're not that thing that dies. We're something else, something much greater. So actually, because of their focus on death, they're the ones focusing on death in the sense of all they have is this material world, a lifetime, very short lifetime, and it's all over, and whereas our consciousness is so expanded, we go way beyond that, way, way beyond that. So, do you feel like you walk around all day long talking about death here? I don't think so. That we're in the middle of an ecstatic kirtan, you're thinking, death, death. No, it's like, hey, Krishna, back on back to Godhead. So just have to clarify that with him. Is that what you said? There you go. You're just testing me, right? Thank you. Balaram, did you say something? You had a question? There's a microphone right up there.
Thank you for the class. I have a question. Is for me, during class I thought about it. That false ego, it is known that not allow to how to say, false ego force us to enjoy senses, but Shastras speak opposite. And for me, interesting thing is that why or how this false ego allows us to spiritual practice, because of spiritual practice leads to finish false ego.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. This false ego is very, very strong, and how will it ever become adjusted that we become free from the control of the false ego? And that's the whole point, is by purification, because it is false ego. It's not the real ego. And by reviving our Krishna consciousness, that voice of the false ego becomes weaker and weaker and weaker, and just it's gone. Ceto darpana marjanam, the heart becomes purified. It's only there because we want it to be there. We want it to be there. We want, it's only there. We're responsible. It's only there. All our problems in life pretty much is because we're responsible for it, present and past, if you think about it. So our what we do today, we're responsible for. What we think about, what we do, we're completely responsible. We're completely responsible. Like that. But when the true ego, our Krishna consciousness, becomes strong, to the extent it's strong, that false ego, all that stuff just fades away. Just like I said here, like a dream. It's not like that. Is that okay?
Maybe it's because of our association.
Association is very, very important. We level off with whoever we associate with. So always associate with advanced devotees. Like that. That's very, very important. Saving the best for last. Balaram.
There's some idea in relation to austerity that it could have different effects on a person, and they're quite, you could say, radical effects. One is that, okay, their heart could become soft and compassionate and all that, and the other one is that the heart could become hard. So maybe you could just, we see examples of this like in the Bhagavatam, for example. There's these yogis and different, but they're displaying quite hard heart, anyways. What is it?
Hard-heartedness.
Yeah. So Rolls Royce. So maybe you could just comment on that, because it's not that devotees are necessarily, just because they're practicing Krishna consciousness, free from that, because devotees could also perform austerities and it could, harden their heart also. At least it seems that. Maybe you could just comment on that.
Well, what I would say, just a short answer on that, is it depends on the motivation of the austerity. The reference to different yogis mentioned in the Vedas and the Puranas and the Bhagavatam, they're not devotees. They're practicing those different austerities and so on, maybe become very, very powerful, gain different powers and so on, but it's not to become a humble servant of Krishna, Guru and Krishna. And therefore their heart becomes very, very hard. So it's the motivation behind the austerity is what will determine whether one's heart becomes soft or one's heart becomes hard. So, just like some people, they're philanthropists. And some philanthropists, they're doing it just to get a name from themselves. And they're a whole different person than the philanthropist who really, really, really feels in their heart the suffering of others and wants to help. They're two kind of, they can give the same amount of money, millions and billions of dollars, and one person you think, the other person is like Mother Teresa. It's like she's like a Mother Teresa, just a heart of gold and just trying to help. So it's what's inside will determine, whether we become hard-hearted or soft-hearted. Yes, grab that microphone.
Thanks, Prabhu. Just to follow up from that one, it seems like the subtle body and the physical body, regardless of the intent of the practitioner, still are bound to be affected in different ways, like Balaram Prabhu was saying. You know, and we know too that in our conditioned state, none of our motives are entirely pure. Otherwise, we would be on the Shuddha Bhakti platform. But that's what we're aspiring for. So, akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo. You know, we're endeavoring in bhakti, but we have mixed motives generally. So when we perform austerity, especially intense austerity, it also seems to impact the subtle body, especially, and the physical body as well, in ways that may not be incredibly conducive for things like, you know, guyamakyati prachati, sweet, loving exchanges with the devotees, because I've become so focused on my austerity that I really don't have the time or energy to express my love to another devotee or to receive love from another devotee. So I don't know if I'm missing Balaram Prabhu's point, or if that's kind of along the same line, that even if we practice devotional austerity, there still is often other side effects that come along with it as well. And I think perhaps that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur dissuaded Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur performing Kartik austerities, because of course there's no question that he's doing it with pure devotional motive. At the same time, the intensity of the austerities were affecting his physical body in such a way that were not conducive to what Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw as the pleasure of Sri Guru and Gauranga. So could you maybe open that up a little bit about how austerities can be entered into in a way which is, or austerities can also have another effect, or am I extrapolating too much?
Very good point. One has to be careful about, because one can go overboard, even their austerities in Krishna consciousness, and it has an adverse effect on our consciousness and our association with the devotees and so on. One does have to be careful. It's a very, very good point. You know, and that's why good association is important. We had one devotee here, he said, I'm not going to eat anymore. Just like a few chickpeas or something in the morning. But I always catch him in the walk-in during the day, just stuffing his face with prasadam. Because he, you know, he said, he couldn't do it. And it just was too difficult and whatever. But so one has to be careful about the austerities. And you can actually hurt yourself. Some devotees who just push themselves too much, and all of a sudden, you know, they got some kind of horrible illness or this or that, or die prematurely or something. So one has to be very careful. It's not like, that's why one has to have good association and some wisdom there to know what austerities are appropriate. If you don't know, like Prabhupada said about common sense, if you don't have any common sense, ask someone who has some what to do. So, you know, it's not, you know, just push yourself, and then that's not necessarily the best course of action. So, but I have to end here. I've got to prepare for an engagement and leave here by 9 o'clock. Okay, I'll go as a Srila Prabhupada.
Short comment. You said that the best austerity is chant Hare Krishna.
Yes.
And chant Hare Krishna never makes our heart hard.
Correct. The chanting Hare Krishna will always soften the heart, purify the heart. That's why it's the best.